On the week that this episode goes out, it will be my 36th birthday. And I have to admit, I don't know about you, but when it gets to your birthday, you start feeling quite nostalgic for the things of the past, for people, for places, for experiences that you've had, and of course, music, the latter of which has an incredible power to take you back to a time and a place. Now, this year was the 15th anniversary of Francis Rossi's second solo album, One Step at a Time, which came 14 years after his first one, King of the Doghouse. I remember the release of his second one very clearly. I was at university. I'd started maybe 6 to 8 months previously. I had a lot of new horizons, and then this album came out, and I was most excited for it because I had heard King of the Doghouse, but it wasn't 100% Rossi to me. When you start reading up the background to it, it is more of a collaboration. And there are some Rossi written songs on there, but it does sometimes feel like an album that happens to have Rossi's voice on it. It's a great album, but upon the announcement of One Step at a Time, I was giddy with excitement because I thought, well, what's it going to sound like? You know, we're going to have Rossi behind the wheel doing what he does. And it was 10 tracks. And this tied into a tour, which I've already talked about in a previous video. And this was mostly songs that he hadn't done before, with a couple of songs from elsewhere. But we shall get to those in a moment. So the album begins with Sleeping on the Job, which I know he said could have been the theme tune to a cop show or something, like a TV show. I'm imagining like Dennis Waterman, something like that. I like the energy of this. It's got that sort of jigs and reels thing that he likes a lot of, and it moves along really nicely. I learnt to play this song on the guitar. It was Chris Fernahue actually that taught me how to do it. It's a fun song to play and an even more fun song to sing. The second one, biographical, Tallulahs Waiting. Sort of a mid-tempo country type plodder, but the kind of thing that Rossi does extremely well. It's not exactly complex, it's not going to set the world alight, but it's just a good song with a catchy chorus and a really nice relatable message as well. I'm going home, Tallulahs Waiting. I've been away for far too long. You know, like there's a lot of stuff, and of course it feels autobiographical, the idea of him being out on the road for so many years. So yeah, it works. Track 3 was Crazy for You, which was originally recorded by Paul Camilleri for his album Camilleri 4. The song was written by Francis Rossi and Bob Young, and Francis actually produced that album. And if you've heard that version, it's really amped up, really big boogie guitars, lovely tune. But yeah, it's about the guitars and the rockiness of it. And Francis gives his own interpretation here. In fact, his original interpretation, because as it turns out, it's quite close to the demo. And we've got here sort of backing singers. We've got a much more kind of gentler but still rocking kind of thing. It's some people might call it sort of Quo-like or Quo-light, that sort of thing. But then the album has those vibes about it. Of course it does, because Francis is in Status Quo. The fourth track is something of a departure, but again, the fact that Francis can write songs that aren't just about boogie, that aren't just about rock, they're also about sort of meaningful things. One step at a time, breaking down the barriers, holding back the line, or whatever the line is, that last line is. Is it holding back the time or holding back the line? Whatever it is, I love the tune of this. It really resonated with me. I was in my first year at university when this came out, and it was truly just something that hit you right in the heart. The fact that it was mainly piano based, there's sort of a piano in there, you've got the lead guitar, and it's just a lovely kind of melancholic but also uplifting track that has never failed to put a smile on my face, or indeed make me cry at times. And he did perform this live. This is a beautiful song, well delivered, not entirely with what Rossi has done in the past, but why not? I love the fact that he tries things all the time. Well, there we are. I got so enthused about this album that my battery went flat. So where was I? The next track on this album, One Step at a Time, is Here I Go, written by Francis Rossi and Guy Johnson, the latter name of which will be familiar to those fans from the early 80s. Going Downtown Tonight was also one of his, and this has a very similar feel, mainly because of the kind of uplifting nature, I think, of the chorus, and most prominently the opening kind of synthesizer line there has very similar echoes, but not quite as frustratingly annoying or as dated, I feel, as the song that I mentioned just now. This also has a very kind of catchy upbeatness to it, and shows, well, yeah, we're sort of in the Quo mould, but we're somewhere else, and we're really uplifting. And that's a word I'm going to use quite a lot for this album, because it is uplifting. And for me, I would walk to university and I'd be there, here I go, don't stop me, something strange has got me in a spin, I'll find my way in the end. As in, I'm really confused, my head's in a spin, I'm not sure what to do. I had a sort of a mixed university experience where I probably shouldn't have been there, to be honest, but I stuck it out for 3 years. And so this song and the previous one really resonated with me. And of course it was wrapped up in a familiar bow. It was Francis and his reassuring voice. I've always found his voice really reassuring on Quo records and otherwise. And so that was his voice and the sort of the Quo-like production. But yeah, Here I Go, what a track. It's a short while later and I'm just editing this video and I notice, yeah, it's a little bit bright. So note for the future, hopefully this setting is better, and also that I didn't state or emphasize that Guy Johnson also co-wrote One Step at a Time on this album. So he has 2 co-writes with Francis Rossi, that song and Here I Go, both next to each other on this album, and shows that Francis, with different writers, can kind of channel different sides of himself and go to different places. And there are out there versions of these 2 songs by Guy Johnson, which I shall talk about in a future episode. So number 6, Faded Memory, was a single and there was a music video, and I remember it coming out and thinking, it kind of just sounds like Status Quo. And as a fan, I like that, but for a wider public, perhaps was a little bit more confusing because they're waiting for Rick or Andy Bown or John Rhino Edwards to pop out from somewhere, and they never appear because this is a Francis solo record. Now, Quo could have done this, but I think thematically it works as a solo record, even if the production to me kind of felt that way anyway. But of course, why not? There are 2 versions of this, aren't there? There's the demo version that was recently included on The Way We Were Volume 1, and then there's also this album version. And that one, the previous one I mentioned, has got a certain, it stays in the same kind of tempo all throughout, and it's much slower and more deliberate. And then somewhere between that demo and the One Step at a Time album, it's almost been half quoed up a little bit. It's not, it almost needed to be a bit further back in that demo phase, because the finished production just sounded a little bit too close to Quo. I like the song. I think the song is great. And again, for me personally, I like to think I have a pretty good memory when it comes to things. However, as I get older, the words of this song start to mean something. They start to take on a whole new meaning. So Strike Like Lightning, Like Crazy for You, was recorded first by Paul Camilleri officially for Camilleri 4, which Francis Rossi produced, and then Francis did his own version, and very much like that aforementioned track. It's in his style, it's scaled back, we've got the female backing singers. Again, it's a song that Quo could have done, but they probably would have amped it up a bit more, whereas this, it's got that sort of bluesy feel to it, and there is kind of a darkness there, but it is much lighter in its production, and a cool one it is as well. I bet it sounded really good live. So Rolling Down the Road is track number 8. The thing with Rolling Down the Road is it was written by his son, Nicholas Rossi, who recorded this in his band Little Egypt, who supported Quo on many occasions. And basically, if you've heard that version, this is pretty much exactly the same arrangement as that. In fact, it almost sounds like bits of it have been reused. I feel like Nicholas Rossi even does the solo, because Francis was like, you do the solo, like it just works for the song. And he's absolutely right there, because again, this is one of those poignant songs. I can't stop hurting inside, I just can't leave it behind. I know I'll find the time to turn around and start again. Again, so many just poignant, beautiful, real driving lyrics. And the thing is, with Status Quo, they're not really renowned for their really meaningful lyrics. This has it in spades, and Nicholas has done a great job with writing that, because the melody is really, again, to use the word poignant, but Francis delivers it and just everything works together. Somebody turn out the light, I want to go home, I'm getting lots of memories flashing in my mind as I talk about it, because I got to be careful because I can't quote too many of the lyrics, but basically the lyrics are able to fit into your situation, and that's the beauty of the song, is no matter what you're experiencing, I feel like you can relate to it in some way, whatever it is that you're experiencing. And yeah, Francis and his kind of, well, again, his reassuring voice and that production, it just comes together so nicely. So number 9 is a song called Caroline. No, me neither. Status Quo's Caroline from 1973, the Hello album. This time much closer to that demo recording from the early 70s. There's 2 of them actually. There's a fast one and a slow one. This is much more in that slower bluesy thing, and I think Francis was asked at the time, of course I can do it, of course we can do it, or whatever. And he started the live gigs with that as well, which is quite a ballsy move really, but why not? It's a great song, and he's done it in a different style. And I actually saw a tribute band do this version at the Minehead fan club convention a few years ago, and I know there were some people around maybe scratching their heads not knowing it existed. It's well worth listening to, because yeah, it's Caroline, but it's the sort of distilled Francis Rossi, Bob Young version that's a bit slower and a bit more bluesy, and again with the production of this album has sort of a lighter theme to it, but I think it really works. You know, I'm going to say this, I really like it. At the same time, it is one I tended to skip, because for me it was about the newer songs on this album than the ones that I'd heard, you know, in various versions over the years. But it's on there. It's also pretty good from a marketing point of view as well. It was good from, you know, Quo fans will pick it up because it's a version of Caroline, regardless of anything else. So the album ends on If You Believe, which again, we have a version from the demo album that was released recently, and it was very close to that one, and it's a complete kind of U-turn on everything. It's a complete reinvention, because it doesn't sound like anything else on the album. And again, there's just something so, I've got to use other words, but poignant about it. There's something so kind of uplifting, and again, lyrically, he's telling a story, and yeah, it's not a four to the floor, you know, boogie rocker. But the thing is, I like the fact that Francis is using this platform to try different genres and try different ideas, and say, well, actually, I don't think that will work for Quo. Let's put it in a different light and try something else. And you have If You Believe, that sort of has a country vibe to it, but then it also has sort of a pop, sort of 90s vibe to it. It rounds off an album. By this point, I think after track 8, I used to stop it, mainly because I think that was by the time it finished at track 8, I was at university, so I'd turn it off and I'd go home and I'd listen to the front of the album again, and then I'd get called for dinner, and then you'd turn it off at track 8 or wherever. So I'd never really get to 10, but yeah, most of the album I think it isn't Status Quo. It's Francis Rossi, and it has every right to be. And after that first album, where there are fragments of Mr. Rossi in there, and it's a great album, but this one, he got to do exactly what he wanted. And so even all this time later, One Step at a Time by Francis Rossi remains one of my favourites, and one that takes me back to when I was 20 years old and deer in headlights, not knowing what to do. And some of the lyrics and the production in this helped me to make my way through college and university. Anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy my birthday week. But yeah, let me know. What do you think of Francis Rossi's One Step at a Time? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Rate, comment and subscribe for more Quo-related commentary, videos, reviews, interviews and so much more. Bye bye for now.